everyone. So funding your motorcycle adventures is a big part of the journey. But just like with the ride itself, there's no one magic formula that fits all. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of different ways to fund your travels around the world, including, for example, being a digital nomad and making money on the road.
Or generating income from YouTube and social media.
Or working, saving up and going around the world.
I work a 9-to-5 job when I'm at home. Save up and live frugally. Anything is possible with a little bit of imagination and determination. So tune in this Saturday to get into the nitty-gritty of funding your own adventure dreams and staying on the road for as long as you want. We'll be discussing saving, earning, budgeting, and everything in between. Make sure to join us live so you can ask the questions that you always wanted to know. Yes, go.
Hey everybody, welcome to ADD to Rally. My name's Agla and I'm going to be hosting tonight live with Nora, Kinga, and Leah. We're going to be talking about money, which is maybe not the most romantic topic out there, but this is the one that people ask us about the most. So without any further ado, if you do love adventure, motorcycles, traveling, and rally racing, click subscribe. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And other than that, we're going to be talking about travel budgets. We're going to be talking about ways to save up or earn an income on the road. We're going to be talking about how to make money on YouTube and social media and a bunch of other topics. So welcome everybody. I can see people tuning in already. Hello, Caitlin. Hi, Vince. Hi, Henrik. Hi, everybody. So good to see you guys here. Hello, Jordy. Hello, John. I'm just going to introduce these awesome ladies to you super quick. I'm super honored and super thrilled to have Leah from Germany, Kinga on her bike from Poland, and Nora from the Netherlands. These ladies have been on the road for a while. They've ridden around the world that way and all the other ways. And they've got a bunch of really cool things to say. So I'm just going to dive right in. And I think we're going to start with the basics, and that is the travel budget. How much money do you actually need to travel around the world? And I'm going to go straight to Kinga here because she's actually got an exact number, how much money she spent on the road for 1 year. So Kinga, take it away. How much money are you spending and what are you spending it on?
I mean, it's easy for me to calculate. Don't get me wrong. I do not know how much normally, I'm not a sort of like financial freak that I know where my money goes, but I just know per year how much it decreases from my account. Look, it really depends on the continent I'm in, right? My daily budget in last year was for food, accommodation, and food. I was able to close myself in $20 to $25 per day, which was easy to calculate because you only eat what you eat and you put fuel for 200 or 300 kilometers, and then you camp, or you pretty much camp because Africa is quite expensive if you want to stay in a hotel. So it's easy for me to calculate, but yearly I've been spending $25,000 per year, and that's with everything, with visas, with carne. I already had a carne, but with insurance at the borders, because that's actually quite a big cost. With bike servicing and all sorts of things. So I'm actually able to. That's my budget per year, 25,000 American dollars. Yeah, what about you girls? How much are you spending per year?
So for me, I don't know how much I spent per year because I go on these more intermittent trips, but I do know I on the last trip I was one of those finance freaks. So for the 10 months we did Europe and Africa, I know we spent exactly 24,354 euros and 44 cents for two people.
For two.
Yeah.
But hold on, you guys had sponsored motorcycles and you didn't pay for your services, right?
Those are included. So I mean, I got the money back, but all the costs are included in this. But yeah, I mean, there's no buying stuff up front in this number. So this is really from let's say day zero, not everything before. So all the petrol, all the accommodation.
So you guys even cheaper than me.
Leah, what about you?
But I think, when you travel together, a lot of times you share costs together, right? So if you cook or for yourself, so that's, it's not really okay unless you start eating out. If you pay for example, for a hotel room, I pay my price, which you guys gonna share split too.
Yeah, definitely.
I know, Nora. You guys didn't in Africa. It's just impossible. If you want to go on low budget, there's no way you're gonna stay in hotels, because hotels for a really shit hole you pay $50, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So you need to camp, or you need to stay in hostel. But for two, hostel will be $30. You might as well go to the hotel, right? So yeah, I guess it depends on which continent. In Europe, forget about it. I would never be able to lock myself in $25 per day. No way. In Croatia, just camping itself, setting my own tent was costing me $25. Plus, fuel was double the price than in Africa, right? And you have to eat. Food is much more expensive. So I reckon for Europe, you need $50 if you go on low budget a day. If you want to do certain kilometers, you know what I mean? Like you do move around. So I'm calculating 250 kilometers per day. You have to put the fuel in, stay in hostel or whatever, and eat something. $50 for sure.
I actually did
in Europe.
A blog post about how much we spent while we traveled in Europe, which was actually, we were able to do it very low budget, actually. I was surprised myself, honestly.
Even Norway?
Even because wild camping, you can go wild camping everywhere.
Of course.
So
but you have to go wild camping if you decide to stay in hostel. That's it. Your budget goes up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. What about you, Leah?
So when I went on the trip around the world, which basically I in the beginning thought I would be away for about a year, and then it turned out to be 18 months, and I actually never made a real breakdown of my costs because I was, I think, as well a bit scared of what I actually spent. And the good thing was that, I saved up and then I went because I always thought, maybe I can buy an apartment or invest my money somewhere when I was still working. And then I said, fuck it, I go around the world. And I as well worked a bit during my time while I was traveling. So I had an income. And that I immediately spent on fun things. Like I did a lot of expensive things like kite surfing or I don't know. Or like a horseback riding safari in Kyrgyzstan. So I did a lot of things that actually cost money. And so I thought like, okay, as long as I'm not broke, it's fine. And so it lasted for 18 months. I came back, I was broke.
And you regret nothing.
I regret nothing.
I just saw
girls, what about exactly you, Aglaé? How much money did you have when you started your trip?
800 euros, but we'll come back to that one later.
Okay. Sorry.
I want to go back to the whole budget thing. I saw somebody commenting that $25 a day in the US would be impossible, and I just kind of wanted to touch on the fact that it really depends on how you travel as well, not just where. Obviously, sticking to the cheaper continents, cheaper countries, that's one factor. But also, like for me, the formula is this. The less time you have and the more comfort you need, the more money you're going to spend, right? Whereas if you have tons of time and you don't really require a lot of comfort, then you can travel super cheaply. So it's really a very individual thing. For me, I actually had a look at my bank accounts and everything, and I came up with $22,000 for 2019. And it's kind of a lot for me because I was in South America most of the time, but I also shipped my bike from Chile to Poland, and that's all included, right? So the $22,000, it's my fuel, it's my accommodation, it's my food, and it's my shipping from Chile to Poland. It's also a bunch of flights because I went back and forth to and from South America to do some motorcycle tours, and I raced in rallies, which is like an additional expense. So if I hadn't done all of those things, I probably would have gotten away with maybe 70,000, something like that for South America, because South America is quite cheap. Again, depending where you are, like Peru and Bolivia is going to be cheaper than Argentina and Chile, things like that. But it's certainly doable, like around 20,000 a year, something like that. And it all depends about, what do you want to do? Like Leah said, she went on all these like horse riding trips, whatever. I typically don't do that because I typically either can't afford it or don't have the time or whatever. But I'd love to do that. Sounds really good when you think about it. So like, what do you want to do?
I know when I look back now, like, damn, I should have done it. But look, I remember when I was leaving Australia and I had, this, money from my insurance payoff, that's how I actually had the money because of the compensation money from my accident, and have this pile of money. And I'm thinking, okay, this money needs to last me for as long as I want to travel. And I'm thinking 2 years. Okay, 2 years. I want to go around the world in 2 years. And I was literally counting every dollar, and I paid for my own services, my tires at the time, everything you had to pay, the visas. Like Russian visa cost me $1,200. Before even I left Australia, I spent 15 grand on everything. I already had the bike, but the tickets for myself, for shipping the bike, for carne, for visa for Russia, for visa, $300 just for visa for Mongolia, right? So you're spending, and spare parts, bike servicing in Australia, it's massive cost. And I'm thinking, before even I'm leaving, that's it. I haven't even left and already spent $15,000. I'm thinking, there's no way my money going to last me anything. You know what I mean? But I wanted to be prepared because I took the route that was quite remote, and there was no servicing, BMW servicing anywhere in between. They were very rare. And plus very expensive. So I had all the spare parts and everything, and like tired shit from Poland to somewhere to Mongolia, and I really arranged everything. So I paid everything up front. And when I was on the road, I was literally counting every dollar. If the hostel was saying $5 for in Tajikistan, $5 for bed, but $2.50 for sleeping outside on a mattress, I will take $2.50. So it was really, because I knew I've got this pile of money, and that pile of the less I spend, the longer I go and the further I go. So of course we are on freaking low budget. If you want to stay in hotels and splash out, you're going to have far way more money. You really need to choose what sort of way you want to travel. And people think we just have all this money and we spend it, and we just go, no, we really tight asses. We really don't have anything. We count every dollar when we're on the road. People really need to realize it.
Yeah.
For me, I never had any attractions, nothing. I didn't do anything.
For me, it was actually in the beginning of my world trip, it was a bit similar because, you're in the beginning and you don't even know how much it costs or how much you actually would spend. And in the beginning, I was super happy because I didn't spend as much as I thought, because Central Asia, you can travel quite cheap if you want to travel cheap. And as Kinga said, you really can always ask, like, can I sleep outside? Can I be here? It's mostly warm, so that's possible. And like, for example, Uzbekistan. But then for me, the biggest shock, I think then we may be already at the topic of budgeting, was to see that as soon as you ship your bike or as you have like any other transport costs, that is like huge amounts of money.
Yes,
that is like
yes,
basically shipping your bike is like living for months sometimes. And that you really have to calculate, and you have to know, if you say like you start going around the world or doing a long trip, you really have to think on where you want to go. Because if you start at your home place, let's say you live in the USA, and you say, okay, I travel to South America, you basically know that you only have the Darien Gap where you have to ship your motorcycle around, where you can maybe take a boat that is not so expensive. But as soon as you know that you will cross continents over longer stretches over the sea, it's expensive, and you really have to calculate that. And there's no way around. Nobody will lift your bike for free, I think, besides of being very, very lucky.
Yeah. Although, I mean, the way to go about that is like choose the most popular routes. So if you want to ship somewhere weird, you're going to be paying a lot. And by weird, I don't mean the place is weird. I mean a weird route. Yeah. Like I had friends shipping their bikes. I think it was from Iran to Kenya, something like that. That is a very unusual. Yeah. And so they paid quite a bit. Whereas from South America to Europe, that is a very popular route. It's very good to find somebody to share the container with or whatever. I actually paid 900 euros to ship the bike from Chile to Poland. I think that's
good. Yeah, so, and what I have
and see what's the most popular routes that you can kind of get away with cheaper.
Yeah, and what is very expensive too about this budget planning when shipping your vehicles is actually the timing. Because I realized I was actually visiting Kinga when I was in Australia, and then I flew from Australia with my motorcycle to Argentina, and that was right before Christmas. And that was, of course, a very stupid thing to do, but I had to do it because I was meeting a friend of mine over New Year's in Argentina, and that was kind of like planned, so I had to go there. And my flight was super expensive because it was Christmas time. I think the shipping the vehicle cost was about the same because that doesn't depend so much on the timing, but it was just like everything was very unlucky. I paid a lot to get from Australia to South America. And then on the other hand, you can find very good deals. And one of my favorites is still Air Canada, who always do it there. They have like a fly your motorcycle program, and they are super good. You just go there. It's very uncomplicated. I have never shipped my bike so uncomplicated like with Air Canada. You basically really roll your bike in, you fill some documents, and you call them before. And I think shipping my bike, if you fly with them, was like €1,000. And my motorcycle was in the same plane that I took to Casablanca in Morocco. So that was pretty cool. I exited the plane and I went to the cargo, and there was my bike.
So I'm wondering how much, like, let's break this down a little bit. So the whole budget, okay, you spend X amount of money a year. What does that look like in terms of, so for example, for me, I actually had a look, and the bigger part was accommodation. That's my biggest expense. But that's because I work on the road and I just need a steady internet connection. I need a space to get the work done. I just, like, you know. But when it comes to fuel and food, it's more or less the same. And I don't really spend on fuel that much because I don't do long daily distances. Because I travel so slowly that, you know, I don't really do huge daily
The
distances.
slower you go, the less you spend. Exactly. You don't spend money on visas, you don't spend money on insurance at the border, so the slower you go, the less you spend. And you can go for much longer with the same amount of money.
I'm curious, like, what are you spending in terms of, like, these three things, accommodation, fuel, and food? Is it more or less the same for you? Like, equal parts?
Because I camp a lot, so for me camping is like accommodation. I hardly ever spoil myself, and I love camping. It's, like you said, sometimes I need to do the work, I need to charge my batteries, but in Africa everything is so freaking expensive, and I'm taking such remote roads that there are no hostels. Sometimes you have no choice, you have to camp. So accommodation, actually, I don't spend that much money. And then fuel, I'm calculating 250 kilometers per day, which sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's none, because I decided to stay in place for a day or two because I need to catch up on work. So I rather like stay in one place if I find cheap place, 2-3 days, smash work, and then go. Be in remote places, just camp, and then you definitely save up money there. So you just sort of, it equals.
So, for me, it's, I think, kind of like, I don't know, a bit different because I think I'm traveling the fastest from all of us, very likely. And since I'm now kind of starting from Europe, for example, when I went to West Africa, I did a lot of only transport stretches through Europe where I really covered like 800 kilometers a day or 1,000 kilometers a day. And if you do parts of that on the Autobahn, you have a huge fuel consumption. That's actually quite some money that goes into that. And with accommodation, I always try to, I go tenting, then I stay again in a nicer hotel. So I'm trying to keep somehow a balance there. And I think it's actually mostly really fuel and accommodation. And food, I think, is always the smallest part because I find it very easy to get cheap food. I mean, you go to the next market and buy some bread and some tomatoes and some
Canned fish is good. It's always cheap.
Exactly.
Noodles.
And so I think food for me is the smallest part mostly, even though I like to eat good, but you go to locals and they cook fantastic for basically no money.
Yeah, food in Africa, definitely it's not expensive, but accommodation is. And fuel is not as well. It's
Nora, you probably have exact numbers, no?
Nora does.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, on the Africa trip, I tracked everything in this app called Trail Wallet. So
so you did it. You said you have no idea about your expenses.
no, because I mean, we came back like a year ago, so it's all.
But you did put it up when you were spending, right?
Yeah. So our goal was €50 a day, but it ended up being €83 a day.
But that's with border crossings, with insurance, with visas, right?
Yes. So my top 3 is actually food, which is 17% of the total. Then insurance, which is
You don't look like it.
fifth.
Yeah, because you're so slim. Why food?
We also, I don't know. I don't know where it went.
Jojo makes.
Yeah, exactly. I eat 1/3 and Jojo eats 2/3 of the food.
Yeah. I exactly remember that
No.
proportion.
And then insurance is the second, or it's basically the same with shipping.
Yeah.
So
Shipping excluded, because I think shipping was actually really my biggest cost part.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so we
sure.
also
It
spent
is.
almost 4,000 euros on shipping just from
So in and out, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So you have to get to Africa because there's no land route right now, and then you have to go back. But I also included a lot of the ferries that we used in Norway, which are also, I mean, the individual ferries are not that expensive, but if you add them up all together, then it was quite a lot.
Yeah. For 2
I've
days, sure.
alone for shipping my bike, I think on the road trip I spent over 10,000 euros. I think it might even be 15,000.
I can
Whoa.
imagine.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Not
I mean it was
surprised.
several flights. It was like from Thailand, Malaysia to Australia, to South America. Then I had another flight from Lima because there were like very terrible floodings, and then from Canada back, and all the ferries and stuff in between. Then I went to Newfoundland with the ferry. So there was a lot of costs coming that I didn't expect so much. Here's, by the way, a very great comment for you, Kinga. Win says, hair product and beer 55% for Kinga.
I saw that one too. Bloody hell. Man, come on. But thank you for appreciation of my hair product. I really did my best. So it's like hold there and stay. So I don't have to do this all the time. So how's my hair?
I love it.
Thanks, girls.
All right, so now I'm thinking maybe we can try to move on to the next one, which is how we fund the trip, right? Because so many people, and you guys all have this, like people assuming that you're super rich or wealthy or trust fund babies or all of those things. Or your
Oh, we're
parents,
all loaded.
but that is not the case. So yeah, so like how do you afford this? I think Nora and Leia, you kind of did the same thing. You saved first and traveled, right?
I just crashed and had a payout. Just injured myself so I can get. No, I didn't do it on purpose. Someone hit me. But now when I think about it, it's the best thing that happened to me. Although then was the worst when I think back. But I did have quite good savings and then got this payout, and then that's it. Relationship fell apart. That's it. Now or never. And I took off. And I found a way later. I thought my money is going to last me 2 years. That's it. So that'll be it. And literally my money ran out on it. 2 years. That's it. On a dot. Gone. Poof. And it's gone. And I thought, okay, I'm entering Africa and I have no money on my account. I need to sell my apartment in Sydney because I just couldn't keep it. I had a mortgage. It wasn't rented. So I had to pay the loan and I just didn't have money for it. So that would really pushed me to do that. And I'm glad I did, because now I'm finally have no bills and I'm finally homeless and free. Although my home is still Australia, still until now. But then I worked, within the time my YouTube started growing, and for the first 2 years I'm working with editors. So I'm paying for she's helping me out with edits, although I'm still heavily involved in it, and it still takes me a lot of time. But if it wasn't for her, for going through all this content, and then I'm only joining on the very end of it, right? So it's only taking me 2 days, only 2 days to release a video. But she put so much work before that. So I'm paying for that. And all this money that I was earning on YouTube was going for my editor. That's it. That was like, before I was like adding money to it. And then when I was like, even that's great. And now finally the YouTube took off, where I'm actually start earning money. So this is great income. And then I started my online t-shirt shop. I never felt comfortable with a GoFundMe or Patreon site, although there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not me. And I thought maybe people ask me about the stickers, and I was sending out stickers, going to the post office and sending people, like, this is costing you money to print it, costing you money to send it, right? Something, okay, I can't do it anymore. Like, so just because so many people ask me about my stickers, I thought, okay, I'll do stickers and maybe I'll do a t-shirt, right? T-shirt or two, and then now I just grow it to lots of designs, because you know what, I just want to have t-shirts that I want to wear, you know what I mean? So whatever I'm thinking, like, I want to have that t-shirt, and I have something in my mind. Of course, I'm working with designers, I can't put that. This is from Amanda is awesome. And I'm paying for my designers as well. I've got these ideas, I'm contacting them, like, could you do something like that? And this is my creation, and I'm really fulfilling myself, because this is like my little project, and people can in that way they can support me, and that makes a little bit of money as well. So it's nice. I finally found a way. If you're on a super low budget like me, this is enough to get by on the road. And I'm finally relaxed that, okay, I've got certain amount of money that I do not want to spend. I'd rather invest it from my house in Sydney, but I'm able to be on the road on a small budget. So YouTube is definitely the way to go if people think about how to make money on social media. I don't make money on Instagram. I don't make money on Instagram and Facebook. Sorry, did I say whatever? But YouTube, definitely. The key is to have real license to your music. If you have license to your music, and for that I'm paying as well, then you can actually start making money on YouTube. And it's a long way. It doesn't happen overnight. It took me 2 years to actually start making money on YouTube, but now it's actually quite good income. So so I think I never thought this would be my way of making money and fulfilling my dreams, but this is actually paying off now, and I'm really glad that I made that call, because now I can finally relax and just live my life the way I live it. Yeah.
Awesome. Nora, what about you?
Yeah, so for my first trip, when I rode from the Netherlands to Bali, I paid everything myself, but I did it like low cost, low budget, low everything. Like everything, almost everything was secondhand or not necessarily made for adventure. So I just had I don't know. I just wanted to go, and I worked at IBM for 2 years, and as soon as I decided, I think I put at least 50% of my income to the side to save up for this trip. And it is a time back, but I think I had about 20 to 30,000 euros on my bank account for the trip. And of course you have to pay the carnet deposit, but I thought, you know what, actually that's like a great backup, that if I get home, there's always some money that I will get back from the carnet. So I will always have a little bit of money when I come home. I won't be broke. And then I just left, and just had such a good time. I started my YouTube channel because I just wanted to share the experience especially with other women, because I felt like, especially in that time back in 2016, that there were so many men on the internet sharing their adventures, but not a lot of women. So I just wanted to have other women to have to know that there are girls out there who are enjoying these types of adventures, and that YouTube is not just filled with makeup girls and my routine of the morning videos, that's just, I just wanted to show a little bit of a different side of femininity. And
Man, I love that. I love that you had a vision. That's really cool.
And I never really had the intention to grow. It just came naturally, and I just made the videos for my mom, basically. I just thought, well, you know what? I know that I have one fan at home, and I know that there's one person in the whole wide world who will watch all of my videos, and that is my mom. Sometimes people even Instagram me, say, I'm your biggest fan. I'm like, nah, my mom is my biggest fan. But anyways, yeah, that's how I did it. I just work when I'm at home, and even though I have a YouTube channel with a few followers, it doesn't give me any money. So that's just for me, that's just for fun, for this mission that I feel like I want to represent a different side of femininity. But it did help me in the end on the second trip to get some sponsorship. So we got the bike sponsored, and they paid for the maintenance. But every liter of petrol that I put on the bike on the Africa trip, every bite of food that I took, I paid for that. You know, I worked for the whole year that we were back in Europe, my ass off, and saved, again, at least 50% of my income. And yeah, I think actually most of us do it like this.
I think so too. For me, it was actually similar because I somehow knew, because I mean, I kind of followed other people who basically not motorcyclists, because I didn't know so many motorcyclists before I went on a trip around the world. But I followed other people who backpacked or traveled around the world. And I realized that many of them said, I went away with basically nothing in my pocket. And then they worked somewhere and for basically accommodation and food. And I pretty quickly realized that this will not be possible with a motorcycle, because you have a bike, you have to buy spare parts, you have to pay for your service if you can't do it alone, you have to pay for your shipping, you have to pay for the fuel. So there's a lot of costs as soon as you travel with your own vehicle. So this will not be possible to leave without anything in your pocket. So I saved up too, and then I went on this trip. And before I went, I actually tried to get some sponsorships because I thought, maybe that's not so hard for me, because I'm a journalist, I'm a writer, so I have always been writing. And before I went on this trip, I worked at a pretty big publishing house, and I knew that I will have like a column at a very big German female magazine, and that I will publish some travel stories in German newspapers. So I had something in my hand which I could show the people that I approached, to say like, here, you will be published here and here and here, and this will see like, I don't know, like 50,000 people, and la 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 la. And still, it was very, very difficult to even get someone to listen to you. And I was actually very lucky, because I approached Triumph Germany at that time. And I had, when I started to ride motorcycle, I bought a used GS 650. But this bike was kind of like falling a little bit apart before I left. So I was like, shit, I know nothing about mechanics. Either I just go by luck and know this bike will probably break down, or I try to somehow figure out to get a newer bike. And so I approached the bike companies where I thought that they do responsible bikes, and asked Triumph Germany if they don't want to provide me with a motorcycle for all the features that they will get in newspapers and magazines. And luckily, Triumph Germany then said yes. So they gave me, even though I was a nobody in the motorcycle world back those days, they gave me a motorcycle. And that was a big step. But I tried really to approach as well much more other companies. And it was like no throughout. So this first approaches to getting someone else to sponsor you or to help you, or even
So
provide
hard.
I didn't only ask for money. I asked for basically like gear or products or parts, and even that was nearly impossible without like a followership.
But
And,
look, people don't realize how hard it is to, like, really. But we need to look at brand's point of view. They're getting smashed with sponsorship requests. Thousands and thousands, and sure, they do have budget for giving stuff away. Most of them don't have budget to give money for not for free, money to give to someone, unless you are really an athlete or you're really a popular person, like, I don't know, you're a celebrity or something, or you really have quite good following. that matches their marketing approach, sure, more likely they will give you some cash for the road, but that hardly ever happens. It's so hard to do. People don't realize even getting gear for free, it's so hard. But you need to look at the brands. Everyone wants it. Everyone, I want to go around the world, and I'll be having this charity, and then I'll be doing this and this and this. And I've spoken to my sponsor. They've given so much gear for free, and only so little goes back. Only so little people actually do. They take the gear, but they never promote it. They never actually step up to promote the gear and to give them the exposure, because a lot of people are like, oh, they got the gear, they just got comfortable, and off they go. That's the majority of the cases. That's why it's so hard. That's why it's so selective. So that's why it's so hard to get the sponsorship before you even started anything. It's nearly impossible. You really need to build up your audience, get the following organically, of course. Otherwise, if you pay, they will know straight away it's paid. Yeah. But then you can actually approach, okay, this is what I have done. Do you mind coming on board? That's much easier than I've done nothing, and I would love to because I'm this person, and you want to be acknowledged. But you need to understand there's millions of people who are doing the same things, and it's really, really, really hard these days. It's really hard. It was never easy. Never. These days, or back in the days, it was always the same.
I think the best tip that you actually can give to people, because I get approached a lot first about sponsorships, how to find a nice sponsor, because people think like if I can give them a contact to company X and Y, they get as well a sponsorship because they are ending up with the right people. But the truth is nobody is basically waiting for you riding around the world. So that is very hard if you have not something that the company is interested in. And the second thing people are asking me often, because they know that I'm a writer and that I'm a journalist, and that I made some money with writing from the road and writing travel stories from the road and publishing in newspapers, is that they approach me and ask, can't you give me contacts to newspapers or magazines where I can publish my stories? And that's very difficult too, because if you have not worked in the field before, it's kind of like a network. And as well, writing is kind of like it's like a skill. And I have worked in the industry for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. So it's kind of like, it's my education. And so I guess my best tip to people is don't like dig for what other people do and looks easy. Like being a YouTube star is easy. It's not. It takes like 2 years, 3 years, maybe never to make money out of it. And they think being a writer on the way is easy because you just write down what you experience. But it's not, because you have to work in the field before to really have like people who pay you to write these stories. And so I think the best tip is actually to look for something that you have already kind of like an experience in and that you have an expertise in. For example, if you work in finance, maybe you can consult people about how to finance your trip and how to finance even like a digital nomad life or something like that, or how to invest in capital. And I think it's just much easier if you really look what you can do and not look what others do and think like, I'm just going to do the same, because that sometimes just doesn't work.
Yeah. That is a big one, actually. And I get so annoyed sometimes when people tell me, oh, well, okay, so the way I finance my travels is through writing. I'm a freelance writer and journalist, so I just work on the road, and that's how I can keep myself on the road. But a lot of people are kind of like, well, but yeah, it's impossible now. Like, the market is so saturated that it's impossible. No, it's totally possible. And yeah, the market might be saturated. All kinds of markets are all kinds saturated, like if you look at it that way. But if you actually get into it and you make an effort and you do the work, anything is absolutely possible. And so going back to my 800 euro story, so I traveled before. I did South America on a little Chinese bike for almost 2 years. And I kind of kept running out of money. So I would get jobs on the way, like your typical backpacker thinking, right? Like, because motorcycles were completely new to me back then. I had a teeny tiny 150cc Chinese bike. It didn't really require much maintenance, nothing. So I would just get jobs on the way. I got a job as a horse trainer in Argentina, things like that. But then I realized, okay, this is not going to work. I need to go back to Europe, get my old job back. And I'm also a journalist, Leia. And I thought I would like save up and do that whole thing. But the problem was I had no patience. I had no patience to work and stay for years.
Get out! Are you Eastern European?
So that was my problem. And that's why I left it. with 800 euros because I thought, you know what? No, this is not working for me. I don't have the patience. I don't want to work the 9 to 5 for 5 years so I could travel for another 2 years or so. I wanted to find a way to work on the road, and freelance writing was kind of my thing anyway. And so my first gig paid me 25 euros, which is ridiculous. It won't get you anywhere. But my thinking was not like, oh my God, just 25 euros. This sucks. Okay, it's impossible. I quit. Whatever, forget it. No, I was like, okay, 25 euros. All I need to do is add a zero to that and then another one, and then I'm good, right? So that's kind of what I did. And it took a while. And, like with you, Kinga, and your social and YouTube and all that stuff, it doesn't happen like that. You have to
No,
put,
it's
you have to
freaking.
put
I worked my ass off for years to get to this point. People need to realize how much effort it takes. Yes,
Right.
it pays off later on, but you really need to stay focused and actually be consistent. And a lot of people give up. A lot of people give up on just on in early days. Like I remember with Leah. You remember when you came to Australia? It's like, no way, I'm doing YouTube. No, this is way too much work. I'm just focusing on my photography because it's a lot of work. And a lot of people just do not want to do that. Egla, you started your channel not a long time ago, and it's like, fuck, so much work, right? Constant, and it's.
But that's the thing, and it's kind of the same when it comes to money or sponsorships or anything to do with adventure travel. People tell me, oh, but it sounds like it's not easy. Well, yeah, but nothing worth doing is ever easy. Like sitting on your couch watching Netflix is easy. Is it worth it? Yeah, up to you. But at the same time, I'm kind of happy that it challenges me a little bit, that I have to kind of grow and improve myself and improve my work and keep kind of on top of, I don't know, I enjoy that part. If everything was that easy, kind of, it's like, what's the point? Almost, I don't know.
But I worked when I had my engineering career or university, whatever. I always work hard. But now I'm working hard, but I've got the freedom, and I think this is priceless. So I'm really happy that I made this choice in my life where I said, okay, I'm leaving everything behind. Although I had great career, good money, I had good life in Australia. I worked for this life for so long as an immigrant, and I finally reached that level, and I thought, fuck, I made it, right? And then it's like, that's it, I'm leaving it. It was such a hard decision to make. Many factors caused it, but I'm so glad I made that call, because now I can't even see myself going to corporate world. I'm working hard, but I'm working hard for myself, and I've got the freedom, and that's really priceless. So I regret nothing, really.
I think it is very important to realize that I think not everybody has to do everything at one time, because I think people as well think like, oh, I have to do this endless trip around the world, and maybe for some it works and for some it doesn't. And I always thought like, oh, I'm gonna go on this trip around the world and I never want to return home and I want to be on the road forever. And actually after 18 months, I was kind of like happy to as well come home or to a place where I stay again a bit longer and where I can work again and where I can have this kind of like stable, normal life with meeting friends and seeing my parents and the people I love. And so for me, actually, this option to be able to work in Germany and then again take off for a few months and then come back again is very, very good. And I think for some people, maybe it's as well a bit, they can be encouraged to say like, it doesn't need to be like the trip all around the world at once. It can be. But maybe if you, for example, never traveled around the world, or if you never traveled like on your motorcycle by yourself, and if you're dreaming of that, maybe just try first if you even like it. Because I still know some people who went alone, and then after 2 months they were like, what the fuck, I don't even like this. And so I think you can kind of like approach it a little, and then if you realize, wow, that's something for me, then you can go for it. And then save, and then you as well, if you really know that you like it, you will make it happen, because then it's like a priority.
It's funny because
it's the hardest bit is to start, and then you will work it out. If you want to, you will work it out. You will do work on the road. You become like Egla, if you have the skills, digital nomad, or you will work along the way. If you really want to, Your money will run out at some stage, but if you really want to, you will make the way. No doubt about it. Sorry, Nora was saying.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say two things because it's funny that Leah mentioned to do like a test trip. I also always recommend people to do it because I went.
I by the way didn't do it. I just went. I had no skills or nothing. But
I mean, my test trip was I flew to Vietnam for 2 weeks, and like all the other backpackers, bought this super Honda Win fake Chinese copy for I don't even know $150 or something, and crossed the country with it. And I thought, well, you know, I like this, so I probably like a trip around the continent. I'm just gonna go. I mean, I also never ridden off-road.
How hard could it be?
Exactly.
Right?
I'd never ridden off-road before I left. I never left the country on my own motorcycle before I left on my world trip. And I didn't even know how to change a tire, you know? I didn't know anything about my motorcycle, but I just learned those things on the way, and it's just like you do it. But the other thing,
exactly.
But the other thing,
easy.
it's not easy, but it's possible. It's not.
It's doable.
It's
like
exactly.
you face the problem, you solve it, and you go again. It's just like no-brainer for me. It's just you can't predict everything. Things will happen.
Yeah, no, that's
and you
true.
will deal with it. Do not overanalyze it. Do not think what's going to happen. It will happen. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Go.
But the other thing I wanted to say is that I'm also not the nomad type. So I am not the type who wants to stay on the road for the rest of my life. I love being back at home. I love having a little house with all my stuff. I love being able to go surfing again. I love being able to go kiting again. And I don't know, I just like, for me also just being on the road also gets boring somehow, because even though you're every day maybe in a different place or every week in a different place, the things that you do on the road are the same. You have to look for food, you have to look for accommodation, you have to look for petrol, you know. Those things are for me too repetitive to just do for the rest of my life. So I really enjoy challenging myself with a job and with, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not the nomad type, and I think everybody just needs to find out for themselves which type they are.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm kind of the same in a way that I need more layers to this. So that's kind of why I started racing. And my work most of the time connects me to all these other people, and then so like there's more to it than just riding from A to B to C to D and so on and so forth. But I think that just evolves like as you travel. Like Leah said, some people find that, you know what, I'm ready to go home, and that's totally cool. Some people want to stay on the road indefinitely. Like there's so many different things that work for so many different people, and I think it's really good not to get hung up on these stereotypes like, oh, I have to be on the road for 2 years, I have to ride around the world. Yeah, go south, man. Like, whatever you do, whatever makes you happy, that's great. But I kind of wanted to go back to the subject of costs and money, and somebody actually asked what about like bike expenses and stuff like that. I have
Can I just say na zdrowie, because some Polish people just out there like na zdrowie, Benz.
Prost, how it is as in German.
Yeah, prost, precies.
That's it. Yeah, sorry, I got you saying.
Yeah, so like Leah and Nora, you got sponsored with bikes. I just have my old DR650, and then people kind of assume that because it's an old bike, I'm spending tons of money on repairs. That's actually not the case. It's a very reliable bike. I'm a shitty mechanic. I do not have a talent for that at all. I confess. Like,
me too.
So I have to hire people. I have to go to workshops, stuff like that. But apart from tires, oil changes, and all the regular stuff, which doesn't cost much, I'm not really spending that much money, to be honest. Like, I burned a clutch a couple of times, but that was my fault, just inexperience. It's better now. But
that's by the way, burning a clutch, I think that's what I'm recommending everyone. I always say, bring clutch discs. At one point it will happen. And the funny thing is, everybody who did not listen to me had a burnt clutch once. And that is really, and spare tubes. And that is really so funny because some people I met in Myanmar, they were like, they were talking about which spare parts we are carrying. We were riding through Myanmar together, and they were like, "What spare tubes? We have tubeless tires." And I was like, "Yeah, but what if your tire kind of if there's
Lots
some
of
bigger
plugs.
hole?" Yeah, but I
Lots
was
of
like,
plugs.
what?
You can pick 15 in a row. Trust me.
Exactly, but I was like, what if the hole is too big? And they were like, no, that's not gonna happen. And then we ride, and like literally half an hour later, like the tire was open, and they were like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I can maybe give you a spare tube if you're nice to me the rest of our journey. And
Exactly.
yeah, I think
Challenging yourself with traveling with Mini Nora. Mini Nora.
It's gonna be so much fun. It's gonna be different, but I mean, we talked about it in the last live stream as well. Egle said that she could see herself maybe in a distant future traveling with a van and just a small enduro on the back. I mean, I'm not too bothered with the thought of that, you know, just to skip the boring highway parts and really ride the fun trails around in Europe. So for me, I mean, the thing I want to say about it is that some people have this fixed idea of what an ADV rider or what an adventure has to look like, and I'm like, yeah, you know, fuck that shit. Make your own adventure, and if that means for me that I can take my kids out into nature through Europe and show them how amazing our planet is, then you know, then I'm gonna do that because that's what I want. And if you think that is, or if people say, for example, hey, now you have a child, now your YouTube channel is gonna be boring. Sorry, I'm unsubscribing. Then hey, that's your problem, not mine. You know.
Nah.
That's kind of the other component. Like we touched on sponsorships briefly. I kind of want to go deeper into that part because I think, you know, a lot of people have this sort of idea of what an adventure rider looks like, what an adventure ride should look like. You like whatever, what kind of bike, what kind of gear, all those things. And then they try to kind of sell that same idea to the same people, which I feel doesn't maybe work anymore. And I think that's where like all these unique ideas and all this crazy shit kind of comes in a very positive way. So you traveling with a baby is going to be like a whole different ballgame now. And I think being slightly different or unique or whatever, that's what's going to make you stand out, not the certain look or the certain image that we're all already used to, maybe, when it comes to getting sponsors.
We'll see. And if there's sponsors who say, I'm sorry, you have a baby, we're not going to sponsor you anymore or not now, then okay, that's fine, you know. But also for me, because it's not my life, it's not everything in my life is built around my image on the internet, that I'm can say, I don't care, I make my own money, I can do whatever I want. I just thought it would be fun for you, but if you disagree, then, you know, for me, that also works. So, but yeah.
All right. So getting sponsors. So a lot of people have this, again, another myth, right? That we get paid to ride the world.
Basically, people think we are paid. Everything of our journey is paid, which is funny because as I said before, I was very lucky because I got this motorcycle from Triumph back those days. And now I'm riding on a new motorcycle. I'm now having the Tenere, and actually I bought that bike now myself. And people, of course, now assume that I got sponsored throughout from Yamaha, that I got money to ride this bike, that I got the bike for free, and that everything is paid, which is just not true. Nothing is paid from Yamaha. I bought the bike myself, and everything I say about the bike is completely independent because we're not in a money-giving or advertisement relationship. And I think people just think that if you have kind of like a certain amount of followers, that everything that you wear or everything that you have on your bikes is kind of paid for. And for me, it's more, I really use the gear that I like and that I would as well buy because I trust it. Like I bought this motorcycle now that I love. And I think it's very great. For example, Touratech is a company that in the beginning, them I approached too before I went on the world trip, and they said, yeah, we can give you gear for free. And so we kind of built a relationship, and we still have that relationship, and I'm very happy about that. And I think some people just think that sponsors give you money, they pay for you, and there's nothing like, I don't know, that they just pay for all of your trip, which is not true. And but in my opinion, it's just a very long relationship that you really have to work on, and that kind of you like trust the other partner as well. And they trust you because they know like you're not only like getting their gear and doing nothing with it, they know that you're producing good content.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your experience been with sponsors?
Who?
Okay.
Me?
Oh,
Or her?
me?
Or her?
My experience. Look, I've been on social media since I finished my triple in Australia, which was in 2014. And really, my sponsorship started after I released these 2 little videos where BMW Australia contacted me, where Advac Motortech, Forma, all these sponsors that I'm actually with them some of them until now. And I didn't just, you release a video on YouTube and you just like, whatever, right? And then just, I don't know, it just become something that I had my career, I was doing job, and like suddenly people are mentioning, oh, would you like to be BMW ambassador for Australia? I'm like, I only did like a loop around Australia. It's not a big thing, right? Like a lot of people are doing it. It's not freaking, I don't know. It's not going to the moon and back or going around the world, but it was really nice that it approached me, and I actually thought, okay, this is nice. This is nice to be in this community. This is nice to, and I never actually had the aims of being a sponsored rider. These things most of the time just happened because I was running this YouTube channel, I was running my blog, and I was being active on social media. We're talking about back in the days. Now it's very, much harder because it's so many people are doing similar things. And before my trip, I already built the audience by then, and I was really lucky with my sponsor that some of them were supporting me from the very, very, very start. And I'm very loyal to them because they're great brands. If I'm happy with the gear, there's no way I'm going to change for anything else, because I know it's good for me and it's good for my bike, and I'm happy with it. There's this loyalty to them. And people ask me how to be a sponsored rider, and I really have no answer for it, because for me it was just very sort of natural sort of way of getting just to social media and then be acknowledged. And you really need to build your audience and be seen out there to be recognized, to get sponsorship. Otherwise, if you have nothing and you have 0 followers and you just want to do this trip because you have all these ideas in your mind, it's very, very difficult to do. Because there were in the past brands that I approached, and I needed new clothes or whatever, and I approached this brand, that brand. No one ever answered me. So I know how it is when you send a request and no one ever answered to you. And really, I'm with the brands that I felt personal connection, or somehow I loved it, and through social media somehow we connected, because I've chosen this brand because they really suit me. And I think it's the key. If you are a sponsor rider, do not accept sometimes. Eventually you will get the request, and people will offer you this and this and up and this, and my head now is getting dizzy from all these requests of promoting things. It's like, no, I don't need this. Why would I be promoting this? Like, no way. It's like, what am I going to say to people? This is not suitable thing for my bike, or just because I'm getting that for free. Do not do that, because you will really struggle to promote the brand. So just go with the brands that you really believe in, and that will be your choice without the sponsorship. But
I couldn't agree more with that. Absolutely. Like I get sponsored, so again, just products, not cash. I'm not paid to do anything at all. I just get some products. But I feel that aside from all my storytelling and my writing for ADV Rider or Adventure Motorcycle, all these magazines, why brands want to send their gear to me is because I abuse the shit out of it. I will take it, off-road. I will take it to a rally setting. I will like beat the crap out of the gear, and then if it still holds, then that kind of means something, I guess. And so the I choose, I really the same for me. Like I could not promote something crappy if I know it's not gonna hold for
Exactly.
this amount of months on the road or rally racing or whatever. Like I need gear that's gonna withstand, I don't know, like crazy amounts of abuse and beating and stuff like that. So for me, that's kind of, but also the other thing is that, free gear or free bikes, it's not really free because
No, it's never free.
you gotta put the work in. You gotta either promote it or it's your social, whatever. All of that takes work and time and energy and all of these things. So free, I don't know, nothing's free, man.
Nothing is free. Of course not. Brands don't give your gear for free. You need to expose them. You need to work your ass off to be the ambassador. Nothing is free, and that's why they got burned so many times, because they send out gear to people that it just take and then just disappear. It's like, oh, cool. Now we got the gear and I can do our round the world trip or whatever. But actually, we realized that social media is way too hard to do, so we're just going to be quiet for a while. It doesn't work this way. It's like a contract.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also their own fault, They could have been more strict and say, okay, we expect you to do this, this,
No,
this,
I think
and this.
that's of course. I'm pretty sure all the brands are like that when they approach people and they have their own. They already know. I don't know, like my level with them is very different. They already know who I am, so they know how much I'm posting and what I'm doing and what I'm about. But if you on a level where they don't know who you are, then definitely just set the boundaries. And that's why it's so difficult to get the sponsorship.
Somebody asked us, I think it was Vince, that's actually a pretty good question. A lot of round the world travelers, round the world riders seem to try and become, or do actually become, like motivational speakers, like they do all these presentations, stuff like that. And Vince wants to know, is that a good way to make some cash? Anybody done any motivational? There we go. Okay.
I'm actually, because I got a little bit into it by accident, because I saw people were asking about that too, because I published a book about my journey around the world in German that actually went to the German bestseller list, which I was very proud of, and that's very cool. Yeah, and yeah, and so by the way, it will get translated. Hey, Kinga, exactly.
Hey,
it will get translated in English.
I wish I could read it, but I can't. But it's here in the house where I'm staying.
It will be translated in English at the moment, so it will come out, I guess, early autumn, and then you can probably just download it as an ebook, since I will self-publish it. But yeah, so I first went on readings for the book, because that's usually what you do to promote your book. And out of these readings, because then I think people just like recognize, like, she's there and she can read and she can as well speak a little. And I got invited to some TV shows in Germany. And then some companies thought, oh, maybe she could like talk about her journey around the world for our company. And then it kind of like went its own way. And actually, it was quite a lot of fun for me. I guess I was as well very lucky with how it went. And yes, you can actually earn some money with that. And it's actually very, very interesting, because I think it's very much giving and taking, because at these events, you get to know many people, and they're, of course, listening to you, but you as well get like this feedback, what other people's dreams are, or what they're taking out of your journey. Because for me, very interesting was that those people who I talk to mostly are not motorcyclists, because now we are always in this motorcycle bubble, and there it's basically nobody riding motorcycle, and not even people who want to travel around the world. It's more about like going new ways, being courageous, what you can do different. And that is as well was really interesting for me, and as well in that way, because I was always very scared to speak in front of many people, and I lost that. So that was really as well very new territory for me. But so, Vince, yes, you can earn some money with that too.
But good money.
Did anyone else do it?
no.
Yes, you
Not
can
yet.
buy my mic and t-shirts. Hold on, should I take the other t-shirts out? No, don't worry. But
Are you gonna host a little fashion show?
Hey, don't asked me twice. But no, Nora, you mentioned that you had some motivations speeches as well.
No, I just talked on a few events like the Hub UK and Discover Overland, but those are all always, you do those for free. That's just to hang out with the community and stuff like that. But I'm thinking about writing a book as well, so I'm excited actually. I love public speaking, so
Wow.
I'm really keen to get into
I'm really
this.
jealous of all of you. You all good writers, like storytellers. I've got engineering brain. For me, writing takes so much effort. I wish I was just like, it was just light. It
No. Do you know that I'm also an engineer?
Are you going to write a book? Hell no. Hell no. Watch my videos.
I'm an industrial design engineer. I'm also like, writing is horrible for me, but it's like you just get on the motorcycle and ride every day. You just open your laptop and write, even if it's 100 words every day, then it's got to get finished one day.
100 words every day?
Out of my comfort zone.
100 words a week. That's my sort of speed.
All right, you guys, can we go to some fan questions? I got quite a few from more people.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah. What's Vince fast?
Vince, how are you doing?
Our best follower ever. He's a star. He's a star.
All right. So, okay. So actually, this question really intrigued me because I don't know the answer, but you guys probably will. I don't remember who asked it. It was on Instagram, but here it is. How do you know that you've saved enough to go around the world? Or
Never. Yeah, eventually your money gonna run out. You're gonna work it out. Just do not overanalyze it. Have a little bit, whatever you have, just start. The starting bit is the most difficult part, and then you will work it out. No matter what, you will. Trust me. You know. We all worked it out different ways, right? And you met loads of people on the road who worked it out completely different ways. Just have that bit for the start, and then things will just work out if you really, really want it. I think.
So I think since I'm not like the completely, I like a little bit of safety, I have to admit, and
German.
Maybe? Yeah, very German. And I would always say, for me, it's very good to know. I mean, you can kind of budget a little bit what costs will come in like the next month if you start a bike trip. And for me, it's always very good to know that I have at least 3,000 euros somewhere in like a spare pocket, to know that, because 3,000 euros can bring you and probably your bike back home. And I think that's a very good feeling to know if everything goes wrong, at least yourself. I mean, don't care about the bike, but 3,000 euros, for 3,000 euros, you for sure can get an airplane home from basically everywhere in the world. And that's for me a very, very good feeling. So that would be like my suggestion, that you have like a little bit of spare money where you can think like, okay, I calculate all my costs and then I put like this little bit spare money on the side. So I know if everything goes wrong, I have that and I can go home. Or you have very nice friends and family who can rescue you, because that sometimes is the case too. Because I always thought if everything goes wrong, I think my friends would pull together their money and probably get me home somehow.
I'm in the same stage, so it's like we're never really alone. There's always your family or someone that you know, and everything will just fall apart and you just broke and you're just stuck in somewhere. It's nice to think that, you know, your family or your friends will get you out of there, and I think that's really important. You know, we're very lucky. We do have these people around us, and so that's really lucky. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Like, Agla, you're a nomad. You cannot think of a different life. So for us, I think we can relate to this. Like, we don't know where we're going to stop. We just love this lifestyle, and we will work it out. You know, you with your writing and being digital nomad, me with my YouTube videos and now t-shirt online shop and a little bit of support from my sponsors. But for me, there's no going back for a long time. I can't think of myself going back to my engineering job and being comfortable. It's just not me anymore.
So for me, like the thing that I value the most is that, and I even appreciate it more than whichever amount of money in my bank account. The fact that whatever happens, I now have the confidence that I will figure shit out.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I
exactly.
don't have 10,000, 20,000, whatever, however many thousands in my bank account. I'd love to, don't get me wrong, but I
Yeah,
don't
sure.
at the moment. But the fact that whatever happens, and it doesn't just apply to like adventure motorcycling or traveling, like it's just life. But I think adventure motorcycling and traveling gave me the confidence to know that, you know what, whatever happens, I'll figure it out. It's probably not going to be perfect. I'm probably going to have to do, whatever, work hard, all of those things, but that's cool. I will be able to do it in the end. And that's kind of more valuable to me than,
Anything
whatever
else?
amount of
Yeah,
money or stuff like that. And that's kind of the most valuable lesson from the road for me as well. And
exactly.
that's the thing that gives me the most freedom, that like, even if I'm broke, even if, all kinds of things go wrong, because people do ask about that, like, what if, what if you get injured? What if, whatever, whatever. Yeah, all of those things are probably going to happen, or some of them, or most of them.
Mm,
I don't know. Like, life works in all kinds of crazy ways. You don't need to go around the world on a motorcycle to experience all kinds of crazy shit, or bad health, or, all of those things that they're going to happen, probably. That's life. So I think adventure traveling gave me the confidence to, like, yeah, okay, all right, bring it. That's cool, and that's kind of the most important for me, I guess.
yeah, for
That
me too. This is what I've learned. Just chill. If you want it, you will work. You will work it out. Like seriously, I was entering Africa with no money. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Why am I entering? I have no money. I'm like, nothing. I'm fucking broke. What am I thinking? Oh my god! I'm not even like halfway through the world, and I'm telling people I'm going around the world. I have no money. And things just fall into place. I sold my place. I got sponsorships. My YouTube picked up, and like everything just. But you have to. I don't know. Beginning are never easy, but if you really, really want to, going on a low budget, I think you will be capable of doing that at some
at
stage.
the time, of course, it's nice to have a safety net. If this is something that you can afford, if this is also something that gives you a sense of security, whatever, absolutely do that. Like there's no right or wrong here. I'm just talking about what works for me. But if somebody wants to feel safer, if they do feel safer with a certain amount of money or whatever insurance, I don't know why, then totally, yeah, absolutely go for it. But it's not
Yeah.
necessary. It's
No.
all, yes, right.
Yeah. Sure.
I read one question several times actually as well on my Instagram account. People were asking about health insurance. And I actually, maybe we should talk about that too, because that's kind of like, for me, it was kind of like a cost that was there because I picked a German actually health insurance that is like basically, I mean, it's like a round the world insurance that covered all countries more or less. And I think they're very different insurances all over the place. They are like international ones that you can buy everywhere, and they have all different terms. For me, it was as well very important to pick one that was much, much more expensive than the other ones. But it was one, normally the health insurance says they would transport you back to your home country. And I picked one that had like, I don't know the exact wording of this, but if two doctors think that you should go home, they're going to send you home, which is much better because you have the chance to get like a second opinion. And the other one is basically you get one opinion. And if this doctor sucks, you're screwed because he's going to say you stay there and you can be super injured. And they just say, okay, we do surgery here. And the insurance would be like, yeah, do surgery here because it's probably much more cheap than transporting her back to somewhere. And so I think that's things you should take care about if you do your insurances.
Absolutely. It's a
And
must.
and
It's a
they
must.
are, I mean, they're not cheap, right?
Very
I don't know.
expensive. I'm
Yeah,
paying $1,000 per year for my
yeah.
insurance. As you want.
Even though I think they are quite good, knowing that, I mean, if you pay a German insurance, you pay much more a month anyways than if you have like your travel insurance that is like 1,000. I think mine was even 1,300 or 1,400 or something like this a year.
Yeah, look, pretty much every year I'm using my insurance. I had injury in Mongolia, where I had to have a little surgery in Kazakhstan. Then that was the worst thing. I was with world nomads, and they were like really no problematic. And then before I thought I'm going to save up $200 a year, and I went with, I'm not going to say the company, but it just really went all down the roads when I injured myself again in Mongolia at the GS Trophy, and literally took me a year to, with whole lawyers were involved because they couldn't accept the claim, and really stressed. I was so stressed out because I had no money, and if they, like, literally they would take the money that I don't have. So it was very stressful. So you really need to do research which companies are good, because and read the fine print, because I thought I'm going to save up some money and I'll go with someone else, and then it turns out this fine print can take when things go wrong, and pretty much things are like 1 year you will have to see a doctor at some stage. Either you have malaria, or hopefully you're not going to break your bones, but maybe you feel sick, or you like it's
or you get
like
pregnant,
me, or you get pregnant. Exactly, like things can happen on the road. Like insurance is so important, so do research and go with the really tested insurance.
And don't be the prick who didn't get insurance and then does get into a crash and then goes like,
exactly.
Can you guys just please give me money because I have to fly home and I have to pay for surgery and I can't work for the rest of the year, and I need money, please. I'm sorry, but I did.
Exactly. So it's really important, and I'm really one of these people that now I need surgery again to get the pin out. So I'm working with my insurer. We'll see if it's gonna get approved or not. But I really burned my bridges when I switched. In between, I switched to someone else that was not really good for me and caused me a lot of trouble and stress. But now let's see. But it's so important. Like every year something happens to me, and I really need to see a doctor. And sometimes in Israel, just to see a doctor and a few scans cost me $2,000. So you know what? My insurance already is paid off, and I'm actually ahead of it. So things will happen eventually, no matter what. And you really need to have a good insurer, for sure.
Does anybody have any questions from your fans? I think Leah had something. Is that true?
I think I already asked all the questions that somehow I sneaked them in. I think I already asked basically all the questions that people asked me.
I think we need to wrap it up. It's already nearly 2 hours, hey?
That is true.
I think we were
1 hour 15.
No, 1 hour 15.
Listen to us, seriously.
We're so confused with the time this time.
Although we are cool.
I think we did cover most of it, from travel budgets, to ways to fund your travels, to ways to earn an income on the road, to sponsorships, insurance, to all of those things. I think we're good. I also think we're going to do this again soon, hopefully.
Yeah. I think we can. What we once thought was doing it once a month. Maybe we should kind of stick to that, or every few weeks.
Yeah.
So maybe you guys, if you have like a topic, like a huge topic that you want to talk about, maybe drop us some comments
in the comment section
video.
below.
Here, sorry,
yes.
The professional YouTubers, they know down there. We can maybe get the topic for our next journey. Maybe it's countries, maybe it's destinations, maybe it's bike repairing and mechanics.
Some poetry. I miss poetry. We've been talking about all these practical things. I want something, just drop the comment below. Let's see what happens.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us, all of you. It was, for the first time I had my comments, it was so entertaining to actually read them all. It's amazing.
Right? Yeah, it's cool. It's much better.
The comments were great. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. Everybody who tuned in and everybody who commented, and you awesome ladies, Kinga, Nora, Leah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us on your channel. Make sure all you guys subscribe to Egla's channel. She's a legend.
Hit the like buttons, leave a comment so the YouTube algorithm knows that this is a super amazing video, and Egla's videos get more recommended through the algorithm, so make sure you do that for her, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. By the algorithm.
Yes.
No. Thank you so much. And I can't wait.
How about next time we do live when we all get together? In Prague.
That would be nice.
But it's a secret, right?
Because we cannot host any events because of this weird thing.
No, it's not gonna happen. In Prague, next month.
Please, yeah. No, that would be wonderful. All right, you guys. Thank you so much, and see you hopefully really soon, right?
Exactly.
Right.
All right. There we
Take
go.
care.
Bye.
Bye.